No one can live their life over again. Look forward. That is where your future lies. Some spend their entire youth looking back, like a traveler in the desert clutching a broken flask, hoping to reclaim every old drop of water. They live within dead memories, imprisoning themselves in a room of regret, where time layers dust upon things that can never be changed. The more one clings to the past, the more the soul withers from exhaustion. Wounds do not hurt because they exist. They hurt because we constantly touch them with our thoughts. The past was never meant to be a permanent residence. It should only be a mirror in which to reflect upon oneself. A mature person is not one who has never made a mistake, but one wise enough to understand that no one can step into the same river twice. What is gone is like the ashes after a great fire. If you keep raking through them, your hands will only be covered in black soot, while the life ahead silently drifts by outside the window. Many punish themselves with if-only questions, while the future requires only one thing: the courage to walk on. People often get trapped in memory because they identify themselves with their past failures. They think they times are times the pain, the mistake, or the things they have lost. But the truth is, memory is just a chapter in the book, not the entire story of your life. A storm may knock a tree down, but it is after the tempest that the roots learn to grip deeper into the earth. Humans are the same. Losses are not meant to destroy us, but to teach us how to be stronger, deeper, and how to love ourselves more. Look ahead. The future is not a land for the perfect, but for those brave enough to leave the shadows of yesterday behind. Each morning you wake is a gentle reminder that life has not given up on you yet. The sun never rises behind your back. It always appears in front of you, where your feet need to head. And sometimes happiness lies not in fixing the past, but in the moment we accept letting it go, so the heart can be lighter and the soul free to step into a new day. Holding on to anything is like holding your breath. You will suffocate. The only way to get anything in the physical universe is by letting go of it. Let it go and it will be yours forever. Deepak Chopra. We often think that to love is to hold. To be happy is to grasp, and to be safe is to never lose. Yet the tighter we squeeze, the more easily everything slips through our fingers. A hand clenched for too long grows weary. A heart that clings excessively turns itself into a prison of its own emotions. Humans do not suffer simply because of loss, but because the fear of loss has eroded their minds long before it ever happened. There are those who hold on to a dead relationship through stale memories, like clutching a withered rose and letting their hands bleed from the dry thorns. Some hold on to an old glory, an old hurt, or an old version of themselves to the point where their soul has no space left to welcome anything new. When people believe their self-worth lies in what they hold, they cling, control, worry, and live in a state of chronic tension. But the universe operates like flowing water. That which is forced to stay will stagnate and rot. Only that which is set free can flow forever. Letting go is not a loss, but a form of spiritual growth. It is the moment a person understands they cannot control everything. You cannot force someone to stay, you cannot tether time, and you cannot demand life follow your will. Letting go is when the hand stops cramping out of fear, allowing the heart to learn how to breathe softly again. Just as the sky never tries to hold the clouds, yet the clouds still return after every windy season. Just as the ocean does not cling to every wave, yet the sea never runs dry. What truly belongs to you will not vanish simply because you stopped clutching it. On the contrary, it is your serenity that makes all things stay for the long haul. People often mistake freedom for having it all, but true freedom is no longer being bound by the fear of losing. When you learn to let go, your mind becomes as light as a room with a window opened after years of being sealed shut. Light will flood in, peace will return. The most precious things in life were never those we tried to keep by force, but those that remained when we finally stopped trying to hold them. One of the most tragic things I know about human nature is that we all tend to put off living. We are all dreaming of some magical rose garden over the horizon instead of enjoying the roses that are blooming outside our windows today. We live like travelers with eyes fixed on the distant horizon, believing happiness is in another place at another time. And so, while preoccupied with waiting for the perfect breeze of the future, we accidentally miss the gentle scent of the roses blooming right by our door today. Many endure the present with the faith that later everything will be better, but that very habit silently robs them of the ability to feel happiness right now. Some spend their youth waiting until they are wealthier to live, waiting to be more successful to love, waiting to be more stable to enjoy life. They turn happiness into a destination rather than a state of mind. But life does not operate like a ladder with a final peak. Once one goal is reached, humans immediately create another horizon to chase. It is an endless loop of emotional procrastination, where the mind always says, "not yet." And because of that, many live their whole lives without ever truly living a single day to the fullest. The most heartbreaking thing is that the present always silently vanishes while we aren't paying attention. An afternoon with parents waiting for dinner, a simple conversation with a loved one, the sound of rain on the roof, or the rare peace of waking up healthy, all are more fragile than we imagine. But humans often only realize the value of a moment once it has become a memory. Like someone standing in a garden full of flowers but staring at a distant mountain, only to realize when they turn around that spring has long since passed them by. The truth is, the human soul is not healed by grand things, but by the ability to be fully present with what is. A hot cup of tea on a rainy day, a sincere look from someone, a sudden burst of laughter, or a morning where you still get to start over. These are the pieces that build the meaning of life. Happiness does not knock with a loud noise. It usually arrives very quietly, and only those who slow down can hear it. It is not about achieving everything you want, but about learning to see the beauty in what already exists. When people stop procrastinating their living, they will realize life has never been stingy with them. The roses outside the window have always been blooming. It is just that we have been too busy dreaming of a garden on the horizon to open the door and look at them. Don't let your memories be bigger than your dreams. Ivester. There are those who reserve too much space in their hearts for things that are old, a past love, a lost golden era. They live by memory like a traveler in the night, staring only at the dying embers behind them, forgetting that the road ahead still has a star-filled sky waiting. The most dangerous thing is not a painful past, but when a person begins to see it as the only sanctuary for their soul. Over time, memory ceases to be the raw truth and becomes a film edited by emotion. Old joys are colored more vibrantly, old losses become wounds of destiny, and then many unconsciously let the past occupy their entire inner space. They sit for hours remembering, regretting, asking what if, while new dreams slowly die from a lack of nourishment. A tree cannot grow if its roots keep clinging to soil that is turned barren. Memory itself is not to blame. It is proof that we once loved, once hurt, and once lived with all our might. But memory should be a lamp to light the way, not a chain that keeps us standing still. Some carry the past like a suitcase full of stones. The further they go, the more tired they become. The longer they live, the heavier it feels. They forget that life does not ask what you have lost, but asks if you still dare to dream of anything more. A heart only truly grows old when it stops looking forward. Dreams are the youngest part of the human soul. They are like a small fire in the dead of winter, making us want to keep walking even when life is not easy. Those with dreams are those with hope, and hope is the only thing stronger than any painful memory. For the past, whether beautiful or terrible, is but a closed door. No one can live in the room of yesterday forever without suffocating. Only when one dares to open the door and step out can they see the dawn waiting ahead. It is not about forgetting the past, but about learning to put it in its proper place. Do not let the things that have passed be larger than the things you can still become. Do not let memory turn your eyes into a mirror that only reflects old days. Let dreams become a window where the light of the future can enter the soul and warm the parts that were once wounded. And remind you that life is always wider than any sadness that has ever occurred. Your imagination is your preview of life's coming attractions. Albert Einstein. Before anything becomes reality, it always exists in someone's imagination. Every city was once just a sketch in an architect's mind. Every symphony was once just a vague sound in the mind of a musician. And every extraordinary life begins with a very small moment, when a person dares to envision a better version of themselves. Imagination is not an escape from reality. It is the first seed of the future. Humans often cannot fully distinguish between what is experienced and what is imagined with enough strength. Therefore, every time you envision hope or success, you are silently reprogramming your mind. Those images are like the light at the end of the tunnel, giving people the strength to walk on even when the present is full of darkness. Those who lose the ability to imagine do not die of hardship, but die slowly because they no longer see anything worth looking forward to. Some live as if life has already been decided. They let a parched reality imprison their souls, believing that their current circumstances are the final limit. But imagination is the only thing that has no shackles. A bird, even if caged, can still see the sky in its mind. And it is that very ability to see the sky that keeps its wings from forgetting how to fly. The greatest humans never started with it is possible, but started by daring to think of it. Imagination is not a magic trick for those who only dream without acting. It is more like a map than a destination. If you only lie still and dream of the ocean, you will never know the taste of the sea breeze. But when imagination is combined with faith and action, it becomes a massive source of energy. A person who always sees light in their mind will tend to walk toward the light in real life. That is why beautiful dreams often change not just emotions, but the entire direction of a life. Many things we once thought impossible are the very things that later become our most beautiful memories. Do not underestimate the beautiful visions that appear in your mind. Today, they may only be fragile rays of light, but tomorrow they will become the sun that guides you. Imagination is not the delusion of the weak. It is a gentle prophecy that the soul sends to the future. And perhaps the beautiful things you still see in your head today are actually just a preview of the life that is waiting for you. To create more positive results in your life, replace the phrase "if only" with "next time." Celestine Chua. If only is the sigh of a mind trapped in the past, while next time is the churned of one who still believes in the future. One pulls a person back toward the irreparable, the other pushes them forward toward things that can still be changed. And sometimes, the distance between despair and maturity lies only in how we talk to ourselves. Humans often torture themselves with endless if-onlys. If only I had been stronger back then. If only I hadn't said that. If only I had chosen a different path. These phrases are like a rocking chair for the mind. They keep you moving in your emotions, but you never get anywhere. Life does not operate on ifs. Time does not turn back just because someone is still regretful. And doors that have closed will not open again just because we stand there staring for too long. The most dangerous thing about if only is not the sadness, but the feeling of helplessness it sows in the mind. It makes a person believe their life is decided by old mistakes. But next time carries an entirely different energy. It does not deny the pain, nor does it erase the failure. It simply says, I still have a chance to be better. This is the mindset of one who sees life as a journey of learning. A child learning to walk never sits and cries forever over the first fall. They fall, then they stand up again. Adults, however, often forget this ability. We turn mistakes into sentences rather than lessons. The strongest people are often those who have tripped the most, but they do not use the past to bind themselves. Next time is a very beautiful phrase because it contains hope. It opens a door rather than closing the mind. It makes the heart understand that life hasn't ended just because of one mistake. A tree may lose all its leaves in a storm, but it can still turn green again next spring. As long as you still dare to think of next time, it means there is still a fire within you that has not gone out. It is not about living without making mistakes, but about learning to treat yourself more gently after you trip. Don't let if only turn your soul into a room full of regret. Let next time become the window opening toward the light. We think about all our tomorrows, but we don't know how many tomorrows there are. So let's start making the most of today. Ivana Trump. We often live as if we have an infinite amount of time. We save words of love for tomorrow. But the greatest tragedy of human life is that no one knows how many tomorrows they have left. Time signs a contract with no one. It quietly flows by like sand through fingers. And the most painful thing is that many only realize the value of a normal day when they no longer have the chance to live it again. An afternoon with family, a meal where everyone is present, or a morning waking up healthy. All are taken for granted until they are gone. Humans often suffer not because life is too short, but because they live too superficially in the time they had. They exist more than they truly live. They let their minds run to the future while their hearts have never been present in the now. We are always preparing for life, but we forget to live it. We dive into long-term plans and worries about things that haven't happened, to the point of losing the ability to feel the beauty of today. And then one day, what people regret most is usually not failure, but having missed so many moments that could have been filled with love. Today is the only thing that truly belongs to us. The past is gone, the future has not arrived, only the present is where life is breathing. A hug for your parents, a moment of courage to pursue what you love, those are the things that create true meaning in a person's life. Happiness rarely appears like brilliant fireworks. It usually arrives very quietly in ordinary moments. Life does not promise that tomorrow will arrive on schedule. Don't wait until everything is perfect to allow yourself to live. Make the most of today with all the sincerity of your heart, because in the end, a life worth living is not measured by the number of years we exist, but by the number of moments we truly lived. The wise man must remember that while he is a descendant of the past, he is a parent of the future. Herbert Spencer. We are shaped by what has happened, but we are not entirely defined by it. Every human carries within them the traces of yesterday, the memories, the wounds, the lessons. The past is like the soil where the roots of a life take hold. But if one only lives to look down at the roots, the tree will never reach high. A mature person is one who understands that while they cannot choose where they start, they can always choose where they are going. Many unconsciously let the past control their entire lives, turning memory into destiny. But true wisdom lies in the ability to recognize that the past is only an opening chapter, not a final sentence. If humans were only products of yesterday, the world would not have lives reborn from the ruins. We are descendants of the past, but at the same time, we are the parents of the future, because every thought today is giving birth to tomorrow's life. A seed cannot blame the soil forever if it refuses to grow. The scariest thing is not originating from the darkness, but carrying that darkness for a lifetime without ever lighting a lamp. There are those born into scarcity who create a brilliant future through sheer will. That is the strange beauty of human beings. We have the ability to turn wounds into wisdom, mistakes into lessons, and the past into a foundation rather than a shackle. A river cannot flow back to its source, but it can still choose how to flow toward the great sea. Don't live like a shadow of yesterday. Live as the creator of tomorrow. You may be born of the past, but the future will wear the face of the choices you make today. Who you are is what you have been. Who you will be is what you do now. People often live as if they are nailed to what has already occurred. Over time, many begin to confuse what I have experienced with who I truly am. But the deep truth of human psychology lies in the ability to recreate oneself after a collapse. The past is only the ground that has been plowed. It explains why we became what we are today, but it has no right to decide tomorrow. The scariest thing is not having been wrong, but using that wrongness as an excuse to refuse to grow. The present is where true power exists. Every action today is like a stroke from a sculptor's chisel. People change through tiny choices. Choosing to stand up instead of giving up. Choosing to learn instead of complaining. There is a very powerful beauty in a human being self-regenerating from their own wreckage. You cannot rewrite the old chapters of your life, but you can always pick up the pen for the next one. Everyone faces challenges in life. What matters is how you learn to overcome them. Celestine Chua. Life has never shown favoritism to anyone. Everyone must walk across rocky stretches of road. But the difference has never been in the level of pain, but in how we react to that pain. Challenges are like fire. They burn away the faith of some, but for those with character, they are where the inner self is tempered. A seed that wants to touch the sun must tear itself out of its dark, hard shell. Growth always comes with impact. The strongest people are usually not those whose lives were the easiest. They are those who have walked through the darkness but did not let the darkness swallow their soul. Adversity, if viewed correctly, is not a barrier. It is raw material for building resilience. Every challenge in life should be the question, who is this training me to be? When you change that perspective, suffering becomes strength. And scars are the most beautiful evidence that we have lived, have fought, and have not fallen before life.